What's up, guys? This is your host, Danny Baylor, Danny Cakes, and you are listening to the Immeasurably More podcast. Welcome back, you guys. This is Danny. I literally can't even sit still. I'm so dang excited to talk to you guys today. I have so much on my heart. I'm just so over the moon because I can't believe we just hit a year. Like our last episode we just recorded was my first anniversary with the podcast. I'm so excited for you to listen in on that. I talked about faith and works and how those have to work together, having your belief and taking action, and really a call to action about like recognizing in your life where we needed to rise up. So go ahead and check that out. I hope that it serves you well. And I love your guys' feedback always. I would love to know what you felt stirred up in your heart from the episode and what changes you need to make and where you need to rise up and do all the things. And I'm just so grateful, you guys, for just this year and everything going on and just how the podcast has grown and what this has come to, and just so crazy. I think I even talked a little bit about this last episode, you guys, I almost talked myself out of this, and I'm so eager. Just the more that I do this, and don't get me wrong, like I said, I almost talked myself out of it. I was so scared in the beginning. So much spiritual warfare. Holy smokes, all the spiritual warfare. But look what God is doing, you guys, in your lives, and when you listen, and it just that never gets old to me. That you come to me and you're like, dude, Danny, this is exactly what I needed to hear, and it's just so fulfilling to know that. Stepping out of my comfort zone and doing something that I was afraid to do, and sharing my heart and sharing the scariest parts of my lives, just really connect me with you guys. And you feel like you're not alone, and you feel empowered, and you feel like you're right in the things that you want for yourself. And that's kind of what I want to go into today. And I'm just I cannot sit still. I feel like I've been shaking all morning. I've been so stoked just to share about this. And really, I think just because what's going on in my heart and my mind and what God's doing in me. And I'm dude, I need to spread this. I cannot wait to share this with you guys and help you to feel that same energy and just think differently about this year. And we're coming to the end of 2021. And for me, it's been good and bad. And hopefully it's been good for you guys. But if it's not, then I love the end of the year. I love the new year. I love making changes and letting go of the past and all those things and setting goals. And oh my gosh, I'm just getting ahead of myself. But just first and foremost, you guys, before I go into all that, I just want to remind you, just because I'm so grateful for just this podcast and everything, is you did not stumble upon this. Somebody didn't share this with you by accident. You don't connect with me over social media by accident. I fully believe that God uses me and speaks through me and uses this podcast literally to reach you. And so I want to preface that, going into this message, because I really always just pray about that. I'm okay, God, what are we going to say today? This is your podcast. What are we going to do? I can't wait to, I really am just so fueled off of what you guys say in your conversations, because I have felt so much transformation in my life and my mentality every single year, every month. And I'm just so eager to share it with you guys. And I love that the mistakes I've made, the things that I've learned, that changes your life too. And that makes you feel like you're able to do what you're called to do in this life. And I've been in such a long season in my life where I didn't feel like that. And so to be in that place and feel I'm soaking up wisdom from the Lord, I just can't wait to share with you guys. So I'm so excited, and I'm so honored that you guys relate and that you want to be here and that you want to listen and you want to spend your time, hearing my heart. Cause that's been my desire my whole life. And I know that God, like I said, you are exactly where you're at in your season of life. You're listening to this in this moment of your day. If it's the first time, if it's the second time, or however many times that you're hearing these messages and these episodes, God knows your heart. He knows exactly what you're going through. And we are friends. We are connected on purpose, and He's doing so much through you. And I want you to believe that. I want you to have that understanding, that perspective, this is all so significant. And in this very moment, as I speak to you, just wanting you guys to know, you are so seen by God, and He loves you so much. The creator of the universe loves you and sees you and knows your heart and knows your desires. And I just can't wait to pour into you guys today. And so maybe this is going to go a little bit different than most episodes, but I just want to talk to you guys, like I said, about the end of the year. Where's our mentality at? always, 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 how can we grow? What's next? What we can be focusing on that leads us to immeasurably more, right? Like that is my mentality that I want to spread to you guys. I'm so eager for what is next. And just the joy of the Lord is in me today. That's all we're going to say. And it feels so good. And I don't know. Like I said, this has been like a mixture of things in this last year. Like, oh my gosh, like the fall was rough for me. Like so many things, but now the last few weeks have been hard, but I just feel so clear about like what God's doing, what he did, why all those hard things happened, and what to do with them next, like really how to see like glass is always half full, and God is working, God is good, and God is who he says he is, and he is always working in our favor, and he loves us so fully, and he wants us to have abundance, you guys. He wants us to have immeasurably more, a better life, a greater life, a life that is fulfilling, a life that is fulfilled by him and serving our purpose and serving other people. And you guys, I'm just getting started. I cannot even freaking wait. I haven't even gone to all my notes. And so I just want to remind you, you guys, you always have a choice to change your mind, like to start over, like start the business, break away from your toxic relationship, like change your career, transform your body. Like this is your life and you are in the driver's seat. Like do not forget that. And so actually real quick, you guys, speaking of your body, if you are looking to start off your next year with some healthier habits, I personally coach people through this 30-day eating challenge, and we will be starting on Monday, January 3rd. So if that is exciting to you and you want to hop in on that, please slide in my DMs. Please contact me. I would love to do this with you guys. I'm actually kind of like wrapping up one of my challenges right now. And obviously I've never felt better. Like I've never felt so clear-minded, so just in love with like my skin and my body and how I feel and my energy and just, you guys, mental clarity. Like that is so huge for me. And that really comes with eating clean. And so if you want to be accountability partners and you want to be coached through this, I would be so happy to do that with you. So let me know and I will get you guys started that first week of January. So, and we can start off 2022 with so much more. But for a minute, real quick, I just want to kind of go off for a second with grace. And if that's all right with you guys, because like I said, I'm just so fired up. And quite frankly, I'm not in a mood to be quiet about it. And so, like I said, you guys, I need you to know that you are in control of so much more than you realize, of your attitude, of your friend group, how you spend your time, your decision making, how much money you make, and what you allow in your life. And then when I'm talking about that, you guys, like what you allow for yourself, for your mentality, how you're treated by others, how you're treated by your current boyfriend or whatever, like that really held me back. If you're new to this, your job, whatever that is, you guys, like I want you to know that like, this honestly has to be like my favorite kind of rant, because, and I come out with you with this grace that I say in the wisdom, because I've been there, right? Like I was super manipulated. I was shut down, but I also tolerated all of that. Like I also tolerated a lot of things that I thought that I was like worthy of. And it got to a point where I'm just like, dude, like I'm so fed up with like how my life is looking and how I'm being treated and how I'm feeling. And I remembered God reminded me that he had called me to that immeasurably more, and that I had a choice to change my mind and to take a different turn and literally like clean slate my entire life. And it was the best thing. Don't get me wrong. It was scary, but like when God calls you to things and it's in his will for you, like you cannot go wrong. Like he's going to lead you right. He's going to reveal every step to you, and it's going to be so exciting. And so I want you to look at that and like, yes, I took a look at my life and I was like, hey, this is not what I had in mind. And I'm not happy with it. I'm not happy with how I'm being treated and talked to, but like it's time for Danny to have a voice, for Dana to stand up and to take this next step towards something else. I'm like, God he's going to lead me right, and I believe that for you. And so I just want you to remember, like, you guys have that choice. Like we have that choice, like, and whoever and whatever is coming to your mind right now, like isn't there by accident. Like as I'm sharing this, like if there's something unsettling in your life, it doesn't bring you like no peace for a reason. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, just like I said last episode, like whenever you're convinced in your life is dead, you guys, it's not. Like, it's just sleeping. It's just resting. And it's time for us to like rise up and recognize that, and recognize that we're not made to be mediocre. We're not made to be average. God did not call you to just be here. And if you keep waiting until you feel good or X, whatever, like you will always be waiting. quit waiting. Take action right now. Don't even wait until January 1st, right? Take action right now. Like, you guys are so worth it. If no one has told you to, like, in your life, like, believe, like, the Lord is speaking through me and I believe over you, like, you are worth so much more for yourself. Like, you guys, and we're allowed to change our mind. We're allowed to try something new. And so please, more than anything, God help me, please do not hold back the desires of your life based on the opinion of somebody else. Again, all of this that I say comes from a place of grace because I allowed that. I had people in my life who their comfort zone looked so much different than mine. And when I stepped out, they shut me down. And now I'm just like, that's why I can't stop now, you guys. That's why I'm not like willing to just be stagnant and be stuck. And I can't live with myself because I'm like, I'm not going to be in that place anymore. Like, I'm not going to let those people hold me back because they're not comfortable with it. Like, there's so much. God has a purpose for your life. People, a spouse. You are worthy of a man or a woman who loves God so fully and chooses to run after him with you guys. And like, that is another podcast I need to like record in the future because God is doing so much through our relationship and it is so beautiful, you guys. I cannot wait to share about that. But I can't get off track. But he wants all of those things for your life. He wants you to be fulfilled. And like, if you feel unsettled about something, you guys, it means it's time to change. And I hope that you feel confirmation right now that like you should be changing, that you should be growing, that you should be doing something new. Like, God did not call you to like one season and just to stay there. And, you know, I feel so strongly about like setting these new goals and reaching new heights. And I hope that this really, really rubs off on you guys and resonates with you so fully, and that you really are convinced and believe fully to your core that you are worthy of this immeasurably more. And I want you to grow in your belief in ways that God intended for you to believe right now in this time of your life. And so, you know, as I've been reflecting on this time of my year, I hate to admit I'm guilty of like this specific thought. And this is where I want to go with this, you guys, is like, you know, I come on here and I'm like, okay, you guys, first class, then, you know, immeasurably more. And, you know, I've been telling myself this lie. I've realized I've been like catching my thoughts, been doing good at doing that. We've talked about that before, catching our thoughts. And I realized I've been telling myself this lie that, you know what, Danielle, you run this podcast and you pour into other people about your miracle that God worked for you, you know, over the last couple of years. And I've convinced myself that he's already worked that miracle in my life. Does that make sense? Like I've almost like convinced myself like, okay, like, God, I'm so grateful for what you've done. And I'm almost unsure of myself that I'm worthy of more. Because I'm like, well, God, you already did so much. Like, you saved me from like that wreck of a relationship and you set me on a new path and you set me like, you know, becoming this leader for so many people. And I'm like, hey, you did it. Like, this was my miracle. And he's like, dude, no, like, I'll tell you when I'm done. Like, we're not done. We're just getting started. And I need you to be willing to know that like, we're just getting started, and like, tell your listeners this too, you guys. Like, does that make sense? I had this idea that God's worked my miracle and that was it. And you know, there's been like a little sadness to me because I'm like, okay, well, how do I believe like the next level, right? Because I've grown so much and I've learned so much and God's done so much. But he's like, dude, like that, we just had a transition. Like, that wasn't the miracle. The miracle is what's next because of what I'm doing in you and how I'm going to use you for my will and for my glory. And it's like, I just know like that I can't be the only one. And I'm almost like, not embarrassed, but I'm just like, I feel kind of weak by even saying that. Cause I'm like, hey, how can you guys listen to me when I'm like, oh, God's not done with, you know, or I felt like God had worked his last miracle on me, or not last, but like, you know, like that big, like transformational. And I'm like, I want to have that again. And God's like, well, why not? Like, let's go for it. You're obviously ready. Like, your mind is there, you know? And so if you're thinking like, God worked his miracle with me X amount of years ago, and now I'm just here and chugging along and I'm in this season, but like, no, God's like, hey, Danielle, like, you guys, more, like, not just some more, immeasurably, right? There's no measure to it. Immeasurable means it's an adjective. It means too large, extensive, too extreme to measure. There is no measure, meaning God's not done. And, you know, when we think of God, I was thinking like, okay, God's big, like he's almighty, like his thoughts and his perspective and his desires for us are greater than anything we could ever comprehend. So of course he's not done. He's like, don't you know that I can do more? And I need you to be open to that. And so I think that's where he wanted to go with this episode, is like, hey, I'm opening up your mind to like more abundance and more, you guys, like just more all around. Like he created us to fill us in so many ways and to never be stagnant, never stop. And I think that's always a desire. I've actually really loved about myself. I'm like, hey God, like what is next? Like how are we growing? Like how are we making this next step and changing and moving and growing and doing more? And I think that first step is accepting it and believing he's not done and believing he's still healing us and he's still refining us and he is still a God who works miracles and you are not just limited to one. And I feel this so strongly. I hope that you guys feel it too. I think it's so crazy because I found myself back in that place where I'm like I said, okay, God, like you've done already so much and I'm so grateful. And like, how could there be more? And it's literally like almost to this day, like 3 years ago where I questioned the God and I was like, dude, why me? Like, why, what is so special about me? And how could you do more through me? And I feel that like, there's just that deja vu, like that repetitiveness. And like I said, it's like, he's like, Danny, I brought you through that season and that miracle. So you can do my work in this next one. And that's life. Like that's what our life should be, right? It's like all these like constant seasons of God refining us and doing more and revealing stuff to us and us making mistakes, right? We cannot be better and we cannot learn. And I'm like, this is why I feel like I have a hard time even sharing too, is being honest about my mistakes, about being honest about my faults, because I don't want to admit that. I'm like, okay, if people look up to me and like think that I have wisdom, then like I can't, fail, but the failures is what got me here, right? Like everything that I've messed up about or I've learned from is what's gotten me here to give you the wisdom to share what I've learned, right? And so we need to embrace that. We need to embrace that like we are human beings, that we're learning, that we're growing. And it's okay to mess up because number one, God gets the glory. And number two, like that's how we get better. And so we have to start with believing that we are worthy of abundance and everything, right? God works for us. Doesn't happen to us. God works it for us. And so like in Romans, you guys, and it talks about being transformed by the renewing of our minds. And wherever you're at, like when I think about that, because there's your flesh, right? Which is like your worldly, like your fleshly desires as a human being. And then there's your spirit. And I was having a conversation with a couple people recently about this. And it's like, you guys, if we want something, if we feel something, like God is so able to like transform our spirit. And when we're transforming our spirit, like it transforms the way that we think. Like there's just this new lens, this new perspective that we see the world and the way that God does, right? And our desires change and our mentality and what we prioritize, like it's different and it can be permanent if you choose that, And so we have to start transforming our mind or renewing our mind and, aligning our desires like with what God has for us. And that is abundance. And we have to start accepting it. We need to receive it. I think that's something that's so hard, right? Is feeling, we kind of talked about even with Lana a little bit, like feeling worthy. And, if we have a hard time of feeling worthy of abundance and wisdom and more, you guys, the Bible says, God says, ask me. Like, ask me for more. He's like, hey, I want you to have more. I want you to be wiser. I want you to have more in your life. I want you to have clarity. I want you to have discernment. I want you to have more of me, right? Like that is God's desires for us to be more like him and have more of him. And it says, to ask in his name, it should be like, we should be given to us. And so if you feel like you're like struggling with like accepting abundance or like, receiving it, like I talked about even before, it's like praying for a receptive heart. Like, God, allow me to feel like I'm worthy of like your love and I feel worthy of like you giving me more. Cause I think we're so hard on ourselves and we feel unworthy or feel like, hey, I can't give myself enough grace because I messed up or whatever, or I'm too far gone, or, I've made so many mistakes all the time. I'm a human being, like whether I have a relationship with Jesus or not, like that is why, we're human beings, like we always fall short. And so it's like, we have to be able to remember, like God's a forgiving God. He wants to give us more. He wants to bless us. Like he wants to fill us with his spirit and fill us with his mentality and his strength and like believe that we're able to receive it and then give that back. And so believe that God can transform your thinking, that he can transform your discipline, your perspective. And like I said, permanently. That is what is so beautiful about like having a relationship with God is, you guys, something when you accept Jesus and you start having a relationship with the Lord, like your spirit, your heart, your mentality, like there is a permanent change in you and you see things differently. It's so much worse for you to kind of be like half in, half out than like totally on like one side of the opposite side of the spectrum, right? Because you're just kind of there. You're kind of stuck. You're kind of going along. Like that is the devil's favorite place for you to be in, is your comfort zone, right? In a place that you can kind of handle it. And so he's like, you're just going to tolerate this. I don't want you to tolerate where you're at. God never wants you to tolerate where you're at. He's always like, what's next? Like, let's keep going. Like, I have more for you. And I was reading about like, I'm like, hey, God, help me to understand this word, like abundant. Like, how do I like put that into words, meaning like exceedingly, very highly, beyond measure, more, immeasurably more, you guys, in a quantity so abundant to be as considerably more than what one should expect or anticipate. And that's exactly what Ephesians 3:20 says. It says, God's able to do more than us, immeasurably more than we could ever even imagine. You can't even imagine. You can't even anticipate what he has for you. And so be accepting of it, transform your thinking, like start deciding that you believe God is who he says he is, and he wants to fill you. He wants to improve your life. He doesn't want you to stay where you're at, even if it's good. Even if you're in your miracle, God's like, okay, this is it. And then we're going to keep going. And like your miracle matters for other people's miracles. And like when you're taking that chance, when you're having that belief, when you're accepting God's abundance, like you're making it possible for other people to believe it. Do you realize that? And so that's what I'm talking about, like in those last few episodes, about being a servant and sometimes like going first and showing other people like what God's doing in me, you guys, like can do in you. Like he can bring you with a relationship that glorifies him and someone who serves him and wants to like love you so fully, and a job and a community of people who actually want to fill you up and support you and convince you that you're worthy of your dreams too. All of that, like he wants that for you. And so we just have to quit this half in, half out attitude, and we're going to test it out. And just this, this is good enough. No, that's not what God has for you. Like believe that I can't, you guys, I've literally never ever felt like this. I feel like I'm like, just like, I'm still shaking this entire time because I feel so fully about this. And every time I pray, but I'm like, God, what are we going to talk about in this episode? Like, how do you want to like these listeners to end their year? Like, what is the mentality that you want to share with them? Like, you're doing so much more through them already, but like literally, how can we like finish this year off and just like roll into next year with that same momentum, that mentality, like what you want for us? And I physically feel like the energy of like the Holy Spirit, like working it. So I hope that you guys feel that too. And I'm just, I can't wait to hear what you guys are feeling and what you're thinking about all this. But like I said, we have to let go of that mediocre, like that is the worst place that you can live in, is your comfort zone, feeling average, like God called each of us with certain skills and talents and desires to be set apart for his glory. And honestly, you guys, when you're walking in that and you're following his will, like you will be happy. When you're focused on those things, like the desires of your hearts, like you're going to be happier. Like you're going to be so much more fulfilled. And like he wants that for you. And like, isn't it boring if we don't explore those things? Like, I think that's how I get stuck. Like, I'm just like, I'm stuck being, I don't want to be stuck because I'm like, this is boring. I'm like, okay, I'm too ADD for this. Like, how do I move on to what's next? Like, how are we leveling up, God? And he wants that for you. And he's telling us to be receptive of it. So most importantly, you guys, and how I want to close this out is like, in order for us to do all that, to understand being receptive and abundance and what God wants for us, you guys, we have to stay connected to him. And when I look back on those like major like miracle refining seasons in my life, you guys, when I was like super, super close and I felt God so clearly and I heard his voice and, I felt like the wisdom and he's speaking through me even like now. I was always in the Bible, I was always talking to him. And so if we reflect on our season right now, maybe you're not where you want to be. Maybe you're like, hey, where is God? Like maybe he's probably busy with dealing with somebody else's issue and not me, And I'll be the first to say it. Like, you guys, that falls on us. Like, that's our responsibility. Your Christianity is your relationship with God. And if you're in a relationship with a spouse or something, like, it takes two people. In a friendship, it takes two people to pursue each other. And like, God is always pursuing you. Like, never ever doubt, like, the God of the universe is always chasing you and always pursuing your heart and like loves you so fully. And it's like, it's our turn. Like, we have to ask ourselves, like, okay, am I making time for God's word? Like, are we focused on, having a grateful heart or an abundant mindset? Like, am I actively thinking about those things? Where are we spending our time? Are we making that time every single day, that quiet time? If you haven't listened to my podcast about being still, I totally encourage you. I think that'd be super helpful. And really like your quiet time with the Lord and like getting near him and like just basically what I'm talking about right now. are we spending our time in the word and in prayer? And, who are we spending our time with? Like when I look this last season of my life, when I'm like, okay, I feel like kind of rocky, or something feels off balance, or I'm just like, something's just like not right. I realize I can look at my habits, and where am I spending my time? Like I probably wasn't in the Bible that much, these couple of weeks, or I wasn't conscious of praying, or like maybe I'm thinking about my problems, but I'm not praying to God about them, right? Or honestly, the people that I spend my time with, I'm like, okay, I've been so hyper aware of the friends that I spend time with, or maybe just my acquaintances or whatever. And after I leave like that person, I'm like, okay, dude, do I feel like filled up? Or do I feel kind of like negative or drained? And just be aware of it. Like to ask yourself that. Like the next time you hang out with certain people, maybe you're questioning relationships in your life. Like be aware of how you feel after. And you guys, it's okay. It's all right that people are in your life for a season. Maybe you close them for a little bit. I've talked about that before, and I've had to learn that. And especially like in my relationship and what I feel like God's doing in my life, like I really, really need to protect my energy and like who I'm allowing in. And doesn't mean I don't love them, but I need to prioritize things a little bit differently, and I'm just being aware of my energy. And so those kind of things we need to focus on. Like if we're expecting God to like work in us or give us abundance or speak to us or like give us discernment, all these things, like are we spending like prioritizing that time with him in our relationship with him? Because like I know when I was at my breaking point, when we're at breaking points, right? When we're at rock bottom, and we hear God clear because we were desperate to make time. We were desperate to worship him. We were desperate to be in the word. We're desperate to seek wisdom. Like we need to always be like that. Like that should always be our priority. And I know like there's people that I look up to. I've been aware of lately too. And I'm like, dang, they're so smart. Like they just speak clearly. And I just want to be like them. And I know that they're in the word. Like they know God's word. Like they're communicating with God all the time. And I'm like, I want to be like that. So that's why I got to do those things too, and I need to do them consistently. And I know that like the days that, I take 5 minutes to read a Psalms, like I feel so clear. I feel so at peace. Like I can't lie, you guys. Like I was so stressed out the other night, and I literally came home, and I'm so glad that my mind even like went to this, but I was just super, super anxious, and God's like, open my word. And I'm not even kidding. I read a verse that I read. It's like Matthew 6, like the last 20s to 33. It's all about anxiety. And I just literally like bawled my eyes out and then read it real quick. And instantly, and I didn't even expect that. I was just like, I just need to read this. Like I need to be in the word. Instantly, I felt so much better. I felt so much peace, because that is the power of God's word. You guys, those are his promises. Like you cannot, like, how can we be so like down when we're reading God's promises to us, And so I just encourage you, we have to stay connected to him. We have to create that consistent, that consistency in our relationship with him, to always be connected to him. Like, and his word says, you can't do anything apart from me, like he's like, I'm the vine, you're the branch, and apart from me, you can do nothing. I can't remember the exact verse, and he basically describes this. He's like, if you're apart from like me, you're like a dry branch, or, like you're just like, there's like no life to you, like you're the life and connection is like through me being connected to God. And so we have to make that a priority. We have to like, look, okay, like instead of listening to this kind of music, I'm going to listen to some worship music on the way to work, or I'm going to make sure that I read my devotional for 5 minutes in the morning, and those little things every single day, you guys, add up and change our habits and change our mentality and transform our thinking and transform our mind and allow us to believe God is who he says he is, and his promises, and that we are so deserving of his goodness and his love, because that's what his word says. And I guarantee you, if you take that time to make those habits, you guys, you're going to start being convinced that God is who he says he is and how much he wants for you in your life. I cannot wait to see what he does in us. And so make that a priority. And I do not believe like God is done with us. No matter where you're at, like in your business, in your love life, in your relationships, you guys, it starts with us. Like it starts with us believing that we're worthy of more, and that he is the God he says he is, and he will equip you and he will direct you. Accept that. Make space in your mind to start believing that's what this is, and this is what you should be believing and what you should be accepting. And you guys, let's dream big. Let's dream big with God again, and let's co-create our lives with our Creator. Like he wants that for us. He wants to constantly be in communication with him, for believing that he's going to do abundance so that we can show other people in our lives that we're serving, right? That they're worthy of that too. And I want you to fall in love with pursuing this next change in your life. Let's give ourselves grace, right? For this last year, for our mistakes and the things that we're learning from. But know that God is just getting started and you are not here by accident. And so just a couple prayer points I wanted to just share with you that you can pray about, write down in your journal, whatever. God, like, transform my thinking, like renew my mind, give me a receptive heart, give me a constant desire for you over anything in this world, and give me that receptive heart for your abundance and for favor over my life, and give me self-control and discernment in my ways and my habits. Always remind me that you have called me to a life of abundance and immeasurably more. And so, you guys, I cannot wait, like I said, to hear what he's just brought to your mind and on your heart through this episode. And whatever that is, you guys, like, start believing it. Start believing that he wants a change, that he wants abundance for you, that he wants more for you. And get started right now. Start believing right now. Start setting your goals right now. And share them with me, you guys. And please rate, review, and subscribe. Please share this with somebody that you know needs to hear this message, who needs to know that the Lord has an abundance life waiting for them. And I would love to hear what you guys have to share and what you're feeling. So as always, you can connect with me over Instagram. My Instagram is Danny Cakes, or my podcast Instagram, immeasurably.more.podcast. And I'm so excited to ring in the new year with you guys. I'll have an episode dropping the very first week of January. And so I will leave you guys with this. 1 Corinthians 2:9. But as it is written, what no eye has seen, nor ear has heard, nor the heart of man imagined, what God has prepared for those who love him.